Alright, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. And I've decided to spice it up by putting my scrubs on. Number one, I was making sure they still fit, but I was also filming some other videos for shorts and reels and all that kind of stuff. So I decided I would put some scrubs on. But today's video, I actually want to talk about what has surprised me the most about pharmacy technician school. So before I get into too many more details, time for the intro. With going into what might be my last semester, I say might be, because if I pass everything, this will be it. Nothing is guaranteed when you've got 100% must-pass exams and competency-based learning and all of that, and testing and those kind of things. So I want to just share some of the things that has surprised me about this program and my experience so far in the program. My number one thing, and this is the first thing I came up with, and I would say it is number one overall, is how computer savvy I've had to be. So because my program is mainly online, minus a week in first year and 8 weeks in second year, I've had to learn how to do things I never expected to. And this is with revolving around computers. So from setting up a second screen to learning how to use different functions on Zoom, it's been an interesting struggle at times. This is where teaching myself actually how to make YouTube content and being self-taught with editing has been a huge asset to my skill set. The minute I'm unsure on how to approach something or not sure where to start with something with regards to software or something like that, I just immediately go online and look it up. See if I can find either a written out set of instructions, and if that doesn't work, I generally go to YouTube and go, how do I do this? And generally there's a video for it. Thankfully, we're living in a time where there's pretty much anything that you want online on how to figure things out, especially when it comes to tech stuff. At one point, had 4 different screens going if I count my iPad. The next thing I want to get into is how you still have to prioritize the most important evaluations and assignments, and that you have to sometimes sacrifice smaller weighted evaluations because of a different bigger evaluation at the same time. We're generally like only taking specific classes with this program. It's not like university where you kind of pick your schedule and pick the classes that you want to be in with, kind of starting off with your core subjects and then branching out from there. It's very different. And the thing is usually you're not taking the same amount of, same type of electives as your friends either. In this case, all of our classes have been set up for us. We have to take very specific classes at very specific times. And if you want to change it, you actually have to work with the program in order to be able to do that properly. They work around it if you have to, but most of us are pretty much taking the exact same thing at the same time. So generally, even in the schedule, the biggest exams are set right in the schedule that is sent to us. And it's amazing how you still have to prioritize these bigger evaluations over some smaller ones. And if I'm being honest with you guys, my program could probably be a 3-year program at this point. It is very intense, as the class load is quite heavy. So we're taking like 21, 22 credits usually a semester. And in university, you're usually only taking 15 to 18 credits depending on the program that you're in. In fact, most universities won't let you do more than 5 classes at a time. What would happen is sometimes I wouldn't be able to study for a drug quiz as well as what I'd like because I had a math exam that was worth 20 or 25% of my final grade. Sometimes you had to sacrifice learning, brands or generics to be able to focus on other things like math that is much more important. And it's not like it's overall more important, everything matters, but it's just about, okay, which exam is priority right now? And this happened frequently this last semester too. Even with a really good assignment tracker, this issue was something I still struggled with. It was got a little bit better this year because I did have that ability to have a countdown. I could focus on what I needed to focus on. But there were just some times where I still wasn't able to put enough time towards those drug quizzes or the quizzes that were not worth as much. The next thing I want to talk about is the emotional and mental impact of the program. So, with this, how significant the best highs are compared to how bad the worst of the lows are. So, it's an emotional roller coaster. This process has been an emotional roller coaster, from the tears of absolute joy and elation that you feel when you get an email saying that you passed your must pass exam, to that feeling that you get when you find out you've failed a different exam. My example being my first math midterm this last semester. I didn't take it quite as hard as what I originally thought I would, because I didn't think I had passed it after I had written it, because I knew I was struggling with something. I just didn't know what it was. So it didn't hit me quite as hard. But even with the first attempt on the must pass, I was pretty upset about it. And then with the lab stuff too, I got hit by that pretty emotionally hard as well. And then when you're just exhausted because it's the end of the semester, I feel like those kind of things, they hit you a little bit harder. The next thing I want to talk about is how exhausting 7 or 8 hours of Zoom every day can be. It's been very nice to be able to do this program a majority from home, but the constant Zoom meetings are quite exhausting. Having to do full days online from like 8 until 4, often with only an hour for lunch from 12 till 1, and then having to do a few hours of homework, whether it be preparing for a lab the next day or studying for an exam or practicing math. Those are really, really tough. And that studying every night just starts to get to a person, honestly. So, like, you're doing full time school, and then your homework is basically like an overtime. And you start to feel that after a few weeks. Kind of compensate for this was try to give myself every Sunday off. So, no matter if I was working on the Saturday or not, I would still take the Sunday off. And then if I didn't have to work on the Saturday, then it was just do extra schoolwork that day to get caught up. And that's why I only work every other weekend, because that Saturday becomes a let's get ahead and see what we can do, so that when it comes to the following week and I have to work on the Saturday, I'm not having to do quite as much on the Sunday. There were still times where I did occasional, little things, like whether it be reviewing for a drug quiz or something like that, but it was never like I'm doing 3 or 4 hours worth of studying for something. It was never that much, because you really need that break if you're going to make it through to the end without burning out. The last one is, I think, one that would make my university professors feel pretty happy, and that's how much my classes from my biochemistry degree I have used throughout the program. So whether it's that first year physiology, which I actually took in my second year, but it's intro physiology, knowing how to use the basic dilution formula for math that I learned from chemistry, or from understanding what is half-life from toxicology, which is actually an elective that I took. And it'd be surprised, actually, I could talk a little bit about toxicology a little bit, because the basic thing about toxicology is the dose makes the poison, and you really find that out in pharmacy, how true that quote really is. It surprised me at how much I've used the concepts that I've learned throughout my biochemistry degree in the program. So, what I mean by this is we started getting into the drug classes and got into the mechanisms of action, how my understanding of biochemistry in that case was like, oh, that's why it has those side effects. So kind of connected those pieces a little bit. So although I don't actually need to know mechanisms of action for my exams, I actually like to look at them because it generally helped me understand a little bit deeper as to why there's certain side effects in different drug classes. Now, it's not even just the content itself though, it's the discipline that I developed throughout that degree as well. So biochem is not easy. I would say this is up there with that. And probably honestly, because of the added pressure with the must pass exams, it's harder than a biochem degree in many ways, which I can't really explain it, but that's essentially how I feel in the moment. It's felt like a lot more pressure, but you got to remember, I didn't, I didn't have to put, I need to get a 80 or 90% on this in order to pass the class. There really wasn't ever an issue with me ever being in danger of failing a class. Although I should say I was close a couple times just because of the way that the final exams were weighted and how badly I did on a couple of them, my metabolism course being one of them. And actually, it's kind of funny. So when I start struggling with the concept, I will refer back to the Krebs cycle. I said, these nebulas are becoming the Krebs cycle of this program. Anyone who's been through a biochem or metabolism class will understand why I'm using that reference. Anyways, that's it for this one. If you're wanting to follow me along on this journey as I finish school and go through the registration process here, then be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye, everyone.